Oh hey, a little different setting to start this video, but I got a task to perform. Nevertheless, I'm still wearing the same shirt. I'm like Superman. I got a whole closet full of these things. Or I just do laundry frequently. You'll never know the difference. Anyway, I'm delivering a book to a radio show host who wants to do an interview thing, which is a pretty cool deal, especially for a self-published author like myself. Which gives me a great segue to talk about what this video is about, which is self-publishing, why I chose to do that. Yeah, I have to do a few of these things by myself that maybe some other people wouldn't do, but that's kind of a neat little enjoyable thing to kind of learn and figure out along the way. And you get a lot of fulfillment when you accomplish things like this on your own. So with that said, let me finish this task. I'll get back with you. We'll talk more later. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of weird. He had me drop it off at a come and go station. Apparently he gets coffee here every morning and they know him pretty well, and he's had other people drop books off there for him. At first I asked the person, like, hey, do you know so-and-so? And they're like, no. I was like, yeah, does people drop books off once in a while? Oh yeah, that guy. So hopefully that's legit. Just dropped a book off at a gas station. But anyway, that's done. Now I'm gonna get back to the house and we'll finish talking even more later. Oh, I almost forgot. I had one more stop to make here at a local Barnes & Noble bookseller. That's a tricky thing for self-published authors. Not just getting in, but whether or not you actually want to get in. Maybe we'll touch on that later too. Now I'm actually going back home. Promise this time. All right, we're back in the recording studio. And for those of you who have seen my other channel, Bloemendaal Fishing, you'll notice it strikes an eerily similar resemblance. It's because they're the same studio. It's my house. I don't have a lot of space to record stuff. What do you want me to do? So anyway, we're gonna talk about self-publishing. Specifically, like I do a lot of stuff on this channel, I don't try to be an authority on a whole lot of things. I just try to tell my experience and what I've done because, I don't know, I don't necessarily feel like everybody in the world deserves to speak with massive authority on things, but somebody's perspective could still be helpful. So that and the fact that, yeah, I've only published 2 books, let's be real here. Along the lines of being real, the first thing to be real about is there's no guarantee that if I tried to traditionally publish this book, it would have gotten picked up, right? First thing you need to do is find an agent that thinks the book's worth a crap. And then you need to find, or they need to find a publisher that thinks the book is worth the crap. And then you have to go through probably more rounds of serious editing, and it's just a long drawn out process. And I wanted to make sure this book got published first and foremost. And I also didn't want to wait that long, partly because I just started the guide service, you know, not too long before that. And I wanted something that I could do on the side of the guide service quickly. And I was just anxious. I was anxious to get it out there. So this allowed me to make sure that it got published, make sure that it got published quicker, although I still went through, you know, an extensive process of editing and revising and, you know, making sure it was a good product. And it also gave me a lot of control over things, right? So traditionally publishing, the benefits to that obviously are you don't have to do a lot of things if and when your book gets picked up. They find you an editor, they help you with marketing, so a lot of the marketing is still on you. They do the publishing and they pay for all of that stuff, so you get some kind of upfront payment and then royalties ongoing. So there's not a lot of upfront costs. Self-publishing, on the other hand, there's a lot of upfront costs. You got to do everything. You are your publisher. You got to find and pay for an editor. You have to find and pay for a book cover designer. You have to find and pay for all your marketing opportunities, and that's what I was out doing today, was finding marketing opportunities, trying to help sell my book. That's probably the hardest part in making a book successful, is not necessarily well, writing a good book is probably hard too. Writing a book is hard, period. It's a lot of words and stuff. But making it sell and helping to promote it, being your own advocate, it's A, awkward, and B, takes a lot of work. And I'm trying to hustle as best I can and make all that happen. But there is a reason I'm willing to go through all that, and that reason is the other upside of self-publishing is the fact that you have the control and you have a lot more upside. If the book does well, if the book is successful, you get a lot bigger share of that success. So the royalty rates on traditionally published books aren't that great. Your upfront payment, if you're a newbie author, isn't going to be that great. Mostly the big, super amazing, popular authors are the ones that are getting paid really well, and everybody else is just kind of doing it as a side gig, just hoping that they can make some money and hoping to make it big after a number of books. Whereas with self-publishing, you get a lot bigger percentage of the profits for every book that you sell right out the gate. Granted, you still have those costs to make up at the beginning to cover and actually get into the black or the green, whatever your term is for positive profits. But that can happen a lot faster at a lot fewer books if you're able to get them to sell. And I would say the other big reason that I decided to self-publish is it just, for what I was doing with my life, with trying to take more control and live the life that I wanted to live. So I started the guide service on my own. I'm self-employed, and in that whole journey of taking control of your life, it felt like I should take control of the book publication process too. And it's also been a lot of fun. Like, there's a lot of things that I've learned in this process that you wouldn't otherwise learn. You know, things about the details of cover designing and editing and learning how to make and create Amazon ads to try to sell your book, and just fascinating things about how the world works business-wise, book publishing-wise, all of that stuff. It's been an education. It's been an education in hard knocks for sure, but it's an education nonetheless. And I wouldn't have had that, all of that at least, you know, traditionally publishing. Now, a lot of people ask, of course, like if you self-publish a book, how do you sell it? Where can you sell it? Well, it's getting to the point where if you pull the right strings and make the right moves, you can sell it about anywhere. It just may be a little harder, and there may be some more barriers to that. So number one, obviously, is your own website, YouTube, social media, whatever, to drum up interest in the book. And then you got Amazon as one of your major players in terms of, you know, they're one of the big print-on-demand companies. So that's one thing about self-publishing, is you're typically going through a print-on-demand. You don't want to carry a bunch of inventory. So if somebody orders a book through Amazon or Ingram Spark is another one, depending on what I publish through both of them. You know, Ingram Spark for hardcover and softcover, Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing for ebooks, and then also softcovers. If somebody orders a book, they print it up, just that one copy, or however many copies they ordered, and ship it out to them, and I don't have to deal with the inventory part of things, so that makes life a lot easier in that sense. But can you still sell it elsewhere? Yes, there are places that will carry self-published books that are known as, you know, typical mainstream bookstores, like Barnes & Noble, for example, where I was just at earlier today. But it's tricky. So smaller bookstores, indie bookstores, will typically tend to carry your books more likely. They'll do it either by buying inventory up front, or some of them will do it on consignment, so they don't have to take that risk. For somebody like Barnes & Noble, they also don't want to take the risk, and they don't know that you're a proven product yet. So the way they typically do it is they'll order books if you mark it as returnable. So the big catch with that is if they order like 3, 4, 5 copies of your book, and after a couple of months decide, yeah, I don't think this is going to sell, they'll just return them, and I get stuck, or you, if you're self-publishing your book, get stuck with those printing charges, even though they just decided they didn't want anymore. So you can actually lose money by trying to go through some of these retailers. So that was kind of a hard lesson learned for me. I did have one Barnes & Noble that returned some books. So I had it in 2 or 3 of them, and then one returned it, and I'm not exactly sure what the others have done. I haven't seen them returned yet, but basically I got charged to print books that never got sold and then got destroyed and will never be sold. So that kind of sucks. It was a small amount, didn't hurt too badly, but after I learned that, I thought, you know, that may not be the greatest route to go, and I'm going to focus on social media, my own website, and Amazon, because Amazon's not going to return anything. It's a total print-on-demand situation. So, and same with Barnes & Noble online. You can still order my book and a bunch of other books through Barnes & Noble online because it's still print-on-demand. But when it comes to trying to carry inventory in a physical bookstore location, it's a tricky thing that you might want to think about, and especially if you don't have a lot of notoriety already in the public where people are coming to a store expecting to see and buy a book. So yeah, that's a little about my story and my journey of self-publishing, why I decided to do it, maybe a few little tips and lessons learned if somebody else is thinking about it, and potentially some of the other information might be interesting or insightful for somebody that's not necessarily publishing a book, but just curious about how I did it and maybe interested in reading my book. So if you want to get a copy of my book, you can do that at bloemendaalfishing.com/books. And also think about liking this video, subscribing to this channel. Again, for those of you that do know me and my other channel, my Bloemendaal Fishing channel, that's where I started. That's where I did most of my YouTube activity. I decided to split this one off just to have an author channel. So I'm just trying to get this one going, up and rolling. And any subscriptions would help a lot in terms of getting that ball rolling down the hill. So think about that. Thanks for your support. Thanks for listening, and talk to you next time.